Hi everyone, Amy here with Amy's Wares, and I have some snarky coffee goodness to share with you. To start, I'm going to show you the Coffee Love Stencil, as well as the new coffee stamp from A Colorful Life Designs. Now these are part of the April release at A Colorful Life Designs, and here are a couple photos of the finished card to show you the direction that we're going. So you can see, want to hear a joke? Decaf. It's full of some coffee snark. Now this release, if you have checked it out, you'll see that there is a lot of coffee themed goodness in there. There is some tea as well, and then there's some that's not coffee related at all. That's just really cool, unique stencils that are great for year round. So be sure to check out the rest of the release. I will link the information below the video in the video description box, and don't forget my coupon AmyFan10 if you shop, and you can save 10% on your complete order. So here I'm playing with a little scrap piece of craft, as well as a card base of 120 pound accent opaque cardstock, and this is A2 size, so it's US 4¼ inches by 5½, and I'm just lining up this Coffee Love stencil over both pieces. So I have it temporarily tacked down with some mint glue, and I'm masking off the portions of the card base that I don't want to get ink on, and I'm going to come in with this ground espresso distress ink and do some very simple ink blending right over both panels. So as you can imagine, I'm going to line these up, but I didn't want to attach them right away because I am going to add another element where I need that craft panel to be separate. So I'm just kind of coming in heavier handed in spots, lighter handed in others, and I'm covering this full, beautiful, heart-shaped coffee bean goodness all over the front of this card. So I'm just using the one color, but I am kind of bringing in a little bit of residual ink from my black blending brush just to kind of make it a little bit more dramatic in spots. Now I'm going to pull back the stencil and remove this temporary mint tape, and you'll see why now that I wanted to keep it separate. So I wanted those two pieces to line up, that's why I ink blended them together, but I want to use this organic linen 3D embossing folder to add texture to this craft piece. So I'm going to run this through off screen through my die cutting machine, and look at that amazing texture. So I kind of just pictured this linen, but I didn't even realize until after I did it how much it looks like a bag of coffee beans. I don't know if you've ever been to like a coffee roasting facility or anything, but the big beans, the big bags of coffee beans often have a texture like that. So that was a bit of a happy accident that it ended up looking so much like these rough textured coffee bean bags. I thought that was so cool. So here I'm kind of continuing the design on the inside of the card base, just bringing that Coffee Love stencil back and kind of doing some ink blending, just using the residual ink on my brush so it's not too dark and I can easily write over it. Now I'm going to reinforce the crease on the card base, and then I'm going to just add this craft panel down onto my card base. But first I decided to add some white colored pencil. These are my Arteza colored pencils, and I decided that it didn't stand off enough off the background. So when you look at it on top on film, it seems quite clear that it's a heart shape, but in person when you're looking at it, because of all the texture and the dimension from the embossing folder, it just wasn't dramatic enough. It wasn't standing off enough. So I decided to take my white colored pencil and create kind of a drop shadow around that portion of the heart, just to help it kind of really stand off the background and make the definition of the heart shape really clear. And I feel like this did the trick. So I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So I'm kind of going a little bit of a fatter shadow on the bottom, and then a little bit thinner as it moves upward, and then just kind of a thin shadow on the other parts of the heart, just to make sure that it stands off. And like I said, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I never really know for sure because I never really have a plan. I just kind of, wing it as I go and course correct if something isn't quite right. So this was what I wanted it to look like, and it turned out well. Now I am using some tear tape here, or I forget what else you might call this. I think my friend Al calls it tear tape, and I think that's why I started calling it that watching her videos. Score tape. So score tape, tear tape, same thing. I'm just going to pull that off using my pick tool, and I'm only pulling it halfway on the outer perimeter. Now the reason I do this is because if I don't have it lined up quite perfect, it's not automatically going to stick down and then I just, have ruined it. So it gives me a little bit of grace if I need to kind of adjust and get it lined up perfectly, which obviously you need to do in this case, because not only are you lining it up with the card base, but you need to line it up with the stenciling that was done on the card base. So once I'm sure it's correct, then I can pull off those backers and then press that down, and then it's pretty much flush. It does have a little bit raised, but ultimately, because I didn't use foam or anything like that, it's not going to be an issue, and it's going to remain relatively flat. Now here on the inside of the card, I want to stamp the word decaf to finish the joke on the inside of the card, which is another fun element about this. I got to help design this stamp set. I was really excited that I got to help with this. So I kind of had the idea of wanting to make all the little pieces parts separate so that you could maximize this 3x4 stencil and get the most bang for your buck, but also to be able to customize where you put the sentiment, like how you format the sentiment, whether you put it all in a line or whether you make it more like a block shape, or whether you put the inside the end of the joke on the inside of the card. So this was kind of deliberate. And I did actually create a short. Depending on when I release this video, there is going to be a short where I show all the different combinations that you can create with this coffee stamp set, and it is quite versatile. So as you can see here, I just stamped the joke portion onto this little scrap piece of cardstock, and I used my corner chomper to round off the edges just to give this little rectangle a little bit of visual interest. And I'm using my thin foam strips to pop this up on the front of the card, and then I have the answer to the joke on the inside of the card stamped already. And now I'm just going to use some little blingage that I got from Doodles Paper Playground, which sadly is no longer in business, but it had a bunch of really pretty brown and cream colors that were perfect to match this design. So I'm just kind of picking through. There's these cute little toasted marshmallows in it. I think it's called s'mores or some play on s'mores, but like I said, the colors were just perfect. So I just picked a smattering of those that worked really well with the design, and I'm working in odd numbers here, so 3 in the bottom, 2 on the top, though I do think I did end up bringing in a third on the top as well. So 3 and 3, and then I will liquid glue those down once I make up my mind here. I'm really just kind of flipping back and forth, but I will use my Barely Art liquid glue and my jewel picker tool just to kind of adhere these down directly onto this. Wow, look, I'm a picture of grace. Look at this. I'm just spilling them all over the place. Not only can I not make up my mind, but I can't help myself but spilling these all over my desk. So good times. Anyway, we'll get there, right? It's all a process. So I'm using the liquid glue and doing this off screen where you can't see it. Yeah, I'm doing really good on this video. Anyway, that's going to finish the card. Here's the front, here's the inside, and that's it. So be sure to check out the rest of this release. It is so fun. I'm completely in love with it. And there is a Master Creator Bundle if you want to get the whole thing, including the stamp, for 20% off. So that information is below the video. Please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.